Hello everyone, welcome to the second day of tutorial class on analog communication. Hope all of you have gone through the video for the first tutorial class that was held on previous week. In the last class, we have discussed the block diagram of analog communication system. Moreover, we also discuss some prerequisite, that is some basic concept on signal systems and also mathematics or numerical. Basically, we have focused on Fourier series and Fourier transform, which can give us the frequency domain representation of any kind of signal. So, all these things were discussed in the last class. Now, coming to the second class, the topics those will be covered in this class are, like, first of all we shall discuss what is modulation, and then we shall discuss the need of modulation and classification of modulation. Next, one of the very popular type of modulation technique, that is amplitude modulation or AM, that will be discussed, and the classification of AM like DSB FC and DSB FC will also be discussed in this class, followed by time and frequency domain analysis of both DSBFC and DSBSC. What are the difference? How frequency domain analysis help us for better understanding of the signal? And last, we shall discuss the what is the modulation index, and based on that, how can you classify the modulation techniques like under modulation, critical modulation, and over modulation. Okay, so all these will be covered in this class. So I'm requesting all the students to follow this video very carefully, because based on this, analog communication analog communication is standing. Okay, so please follow the video very attentively, and if you have any question, please post them in the classroom comment section or YouTube comment section. Okay, so coming to the first slide, that is the introduction. So before going to the uh, formal definition or technical definition of modulation, let us consider a real life example which help us to understand the modulation with better clarity. So consider a real life scenario where a person want to send a parcel. Okay, so uh, whenever you want to send a parcel to a very short distance, he can carry it on and deliver in the respective destination. But if the person want to deliver the parcel over a very long distance, like from Calcutta to Delhi, so in that scenario, it is impossible for the person to carry the parcel on its own. So in that case, what he can do, he needs a courier. Okay, so courier will help the person to reach the parcel to its final destiny. Okay, that means the parcel need to be packed, and we need to write down the corresponding destination address, and you need to pay respective charges, and after that courier will deliver the parcel. Okay, so if we make this example as an analogy with the analog communication system. And if you consider that parcel is message signal in our for our communication system, okay, so we want to send the message signal to a certain destination or over a long distance. So whenever we want to send the message over a long distance, we need communication system. So we can assume the person as the communication system, but we cannot send the message signal directly over a long distance. Okay, the reason behind it will be discussed in the upcoming slides. Right now, just remember that system cannot send a message signal which consists of low frequency over long distance. So to send the message signal over a long distance using wireless communication, we need a high frequency signal that is called in communication as carrier signal. Okay, so you can assume courier as carrier signal. So let's get the analogy again. So parcel is can be considered as the message signal, person can be considered as the communication system, courier can be considered as the carrier signal. Okay, so by using carrier signal or high frequency signal, a message can be embedded through it and can reach its destiny. Okay, so coming to the technical definition or formal definition of modulation. So we can say that modulation is a process by which some characteristic of a high frequency signal, what are the different characteristics like amplitude, frequency and phase, can be varied according with the instantaneous value of message signal or low frequency signal, or we can also call it as the modulating signal. So that is the definition of modulation. So as we already told that message cannot be sent on its own from one point to another point over a long distance. Okay, so for that purpose we need modulation. Okay, so what is modulation? In case of modulation, some property or some characteristic of a high frequency signal that is known as the carrier signal is varied according with the amplitude of the message signal or instantaneous value of the message signal. So what are the characteristic or property? Those are varied for the high frequency signal, that is amplitude, phase and frequency, that can be varied. Okay, so this is the modulation. That means according to the value of instantaneous value of the modulating signal, the corresponding amplitude, frequency and phase will be changed. That means the corresponding data and message is embedded in the corresponding amplitude, frequency and phase of the carrier signal. Okay, so that is the modulation. So moreover, just you should remember this, that we called message at the low pass signal or also baseband signal. Okay, so in the upcoming slides, or you can call it as in the upcoming classes, we shall frequently use the term low pass signal, baseband signal or message signal or the data or the modulating signal synonymously. Okay, similarly the generated modulated wave is also called it as passband signal. Now why do we call it baseband and why do we call it passband? That can be uh, explained by the frequency domain representation of modulated wave and a baseband signal, and that will be obviously discussed in the upcoming slides. Okay, so right now just remember, low pass signal, baseband signal, message signal, modulating signal all are same, and similarly passband signal, modulated wave all are same. Clear? Now coming to the very important part, that is the what are the needs of modulation. Why should you do the modulation? Why should you vary the amplitude, frequency or phase of carrier in according with the message signal? So the first and most important reason is the practical antenna length. Now whenever we consider the wireless communication, basically we are assuming that all the systems are wireless. In that case, to transmit a signal from one point to another point, apart from the transmitter, we need also an antenna for receiving and transmitting part. So for efficient transmission, there is a rule that antenna length or antenna dimension should be equal or greater than the wavelength of the transmitting signal. That is, L greater than equal to lambda. Okay, so that is the rule. So what is the reason behind this rule? That should be detailed, that should be analyzed or discussed in detail in your another subject, that is called antenna and propagation. This subject is in your syllabus, in your curriculum, in the, I think, in fifth semester. Okay, so therefore I'm not getting details about that fact, what is the reason behind it. So just remember that for efficient transmission for an antenna, the rule is that L greater than equal to lambda. The dimension of the antenna must be equal to, sorry, must be greater than equal to lambda. Now consider a low frequency signal. Suppose our voice, which is in the range of hertz to kilohertz. Now, if we consider a 30 hertz message signal, so in that case, uh, if you want to send this message signal via radio, via antenna directly, so in that case, the length of the antenna will be L greater than equal to lambda. So that implies L greater than equal to c by f, where c is the velocity of the light and f is the corresponding frequency. So L greater than equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8 by 30, because operating frequency is 30 hertz. So here you can see that for 30 hertz message signal, the uh, desirable antenna length is 1 into 10 to the power 7 meter. That means 1000 kilometer. So obviously this length is practically impossible. To design this kind of uh, antenna with such huge dimension is impossible for us. So that's why now consider another scenario where we have used high frequency like 30 megahertz high frequency signal. Okay, so in that case, what will be the uh, antenna size? So obviously the antenna size will be L greater than equal to 3 into 10 to the power 8 30 megahertz divided by, sorry, 3 into 10 to the power 8 velocity of the light and divided by 30 into 10 to the power 6. So here you can see it that L greater than equal to 10 to the power, sorry, 10 meter. Okay, so designing a 10 meter, uh, designing antenna with the 10 meter dimension is quite possible or practically feasible to design it. So that's why we need to use a high frequency signal as carrier whose characteristic is changed according to the low frequency or message signal. Okay, so that for that purpose, that means to get the practical antenna length, we need to use high frequency signal or we need to use the modulation technique. That is the first point. Next is the wireless communication. It has been observed that at low frequency, wireless communication is not feasible or not possible. Okay, because radiation will not occur efficiently at lower frequency, but it has been observed that at high frequency, efficient radiation is possible. So we need a higher frequency to transmit efficiently from one point to another point. That means for wireless communication, obviously, we need high frequency. Okay, next the operating range. It can be shown that energy of a signal is depend on the frequency, or power of a signal is depend on the corresponding frequency. That means the greater frequency denotes the more energy, and high energy signal has less attenuation. That okay, and it obviously it will helps to propagate a long distance or with minimum attenuation during the wireless transmission. Okay, so but if you use the low frequency signal, that means long distance communication is not possible. So obviously using the high frequency signal, the operating range for the wireless communication has been increased. Okay, so that is the another crucial point. Next point is the multiplexing. As the name suggests, multiplexing means many into one. Okay, it can be shown that channel capacity can be increased by simultaneously transmitting several signals at different time slot or at different carrier frequency. Okay, so that is the multiplexing. There are two kinds of multiplexing, like time division multiplexing and the frequency division multiplexing, and we shall discuss these techniques in the upcoming classes. So right now, just remember that using the multiplexing, we can increase the channel capacity by transmitting several signals simultaneously or at different time slot, or we can use at different spectrum slot, or you can use different carrier frequency. Okay, that is the multiplexing. Now coming to the last point, that is a less noise and interference. It can be observed that the using different modulation technique, uh, noise and interference can be reduced up to a certain extent. Okay, so how different technique affect the corresponding noise and interference, that will be discussed in the upcoming classes. Okay, so just right now, just remember this 5 point, that means practical antenna length, wireless communication, large operating range, multiplexing, and less noise and interference are the main reason to use the modulation. Okay, now coming to the disadvantages of modulation. So although we need to use the uh, high frequency signal to send the message signal over a long distance efficiently, but the technique has some kind of disadvantages also. First of all, for the modulation, as we need to vary the amplitude or phase or frequency of carrier signal according with the corresponding message signal, so obviously there are some kind of extra electronic circuitry needed for the modulation purpose, and it makes the transmitter more complex. Okay, that means the modulation is complex in nature, and as the process is become complex, that means the cost of the systems will also increase. So that is the one disadvantage of the modulation process. Second point is the whenever we send a modulated signal at the receiver end, again we need to extract the original message from the modulated wave. That means that is called the demodulation. So perfect demodulation technique is also required. Again, that process is also complex and the cost of the system increase. Okay, now third point, large power required for modulation. As we are using uh, a separate high frequency signal for the modulation purpose, so for that purpose we need a separate power for the carrier signal. So power requirement is increased in case of modulation, and again the bandwidth requirement. Okay, so bandwidth become larger in case of defined modulation process. So how can this bandwidth increase in case of modulation? Those can be explained by observing the frequency response or spectrum of the modulated wave. Obviously that can be shown later. So right now just remember all these 4 points which are the disadvantage of the modulation process. Now coming to the next slide, which describe the type of modulation. Now based on the type of carrier signal, we can classify the modulation in two types. One is the continuous wave modulation, another is pulse modulation. So as the name suggests, first of all, continuous wave modulation. Continuous, when the carrier is continuous in nature, that is called the continuous modulation. So we can see that if this kind of carrier is used, that is pure sinusoidal or cosine wave, so in that case that is called the continuous wave modulation. Now continuous wave modulation can be classified in three types. One is amplitude modulation, where amplitude is varied. Second, frequency modulation, where the frequency of the carrier has been modified. And third is the phase modulation, where phase of the carrier is modified according with the message signal. Now coming to the second type of modulation, that is called the pulse modulation. As the name suggests, pulse, that means rectangular pulse or clock. So here Instead of using the continuous signal, we are using a train of rectangular pulse. Okay, so you can see that a train of rectangular pulse, if this kind of carrier is used in case of modulation, that is called the pulse modulation. Okay, so this been uh, in case of pulse modulation, there are three type of modulation possible. One is pulse amplitude modulation, pulse position modulation, and pulse width modulation. So all these things will be discussed in the upcoming classes. Okay, PAM, PPM, and PWM. Just remember the term right now. Okay, so coming to the next slide. Before discussing the next slide, just I am telling you that in your syllabus we are mainly focus on AM, FM, and PM. Okay, in digital communication, that will be studied in the upcoming semester, that is PAM, PPM, and PWM will be studied. Okay, so right now PAM, PPM, and PWM are out of scope or out of syllabus. So in the curriculum of or in the syllabus of analog communication, we will just focus on this continuous wave modulation. As you already told that there are three type of continuous wave modulation is possible: amplitude modulation, FM, and PM. First of all, we shall focus on AM. Okay, and what do we do? We will study the different kind of what is AM, what are the different classification of AM, what are the different modulator, different demodulator, and its several limitation also. And after that we will study the FM or frequency modulation, where frequency is varied according with the instantaneous value of the message signal. Okay, however, let's continue, or let's move on to the amplitude modulation, or in short we can call it as AM. I think many of you are already aware about this term AM, which is used in the radio. Okay, AM, FM. Okay, so if you have earlier radio in your home, you can see that there is written as AM, FM, shortwave, like this. Okay, so what is AM? As you already told, in case of AM, amplitude of high frequency signal, that is known as the carrier, will be varied according with the amplitude of the low frequency signal or instantaneous value of the low frequency signal or message signal. So here we can say that AM is characterized by an information bearing carrier amplitude AT. That means here the amplitude of the carrier is not constant, it is varied. And if we given by a function AT, and we, that should be a linear function of the baseband message signal, that is MT. So we can say that in case of amplitude modulation, AM is characterized by an information bearing carrier amplitude. That means the information or message is embedded or is hidden in the carrier, in the amplitude of the carrier, and this amplitude is a linear function, or it is proportionally uh, yes, proportional to the baseband message signal or amplitude of the message signal MT. Now, classification of AM. So initially, AM can be classified into four types, like DSB, SSB, VSB, and ISB. Double sideband AM, single sideband AM, vestigial sideband AM, independent sideband AM. DSB, SSB, VSB, and ISB. Now, why do we call it double sideband or single sideband, vestigial sideband, or independent sideband? That will be discussed in the upcoming slide. Just right now, just follow the classification table. Like AM can be classified in four types, like DSB, SSB, VSB, and ISB. And DSB again can be classified into two types, like DSB FC and DSB SC. DSB FC means DSB full carrier, and DSB SC means DSB suppressed carrier. Now, why do we call it full carrier or suppressed carrier? What is the significance of these terms like sideband, full carrier, double, single, vestigial? That will be gradually discussed in the upcoming slide or classes. So initially we just consider the first classification of AM, that is the DSBFM, DSBFC. So what we want to uh, try, we want to find out the basic equation for DSBFC. Okay, so let us consider the carrier signal as CT. So CT can be given as like A cos omega CT. Okay, so here A is the maximum amplitude of the carrier signal and omega c is the angular frequency of the carrier, and we assuming the phase of the carrier is 0, and again we are assuming xt as the modulating signal. Okay, so ct is the carrier signal and xt is the modulating signal. You can also use it as mt, but conventionally xt denote the modulating signal and ct denotes the carrier signal. Okay, now what is the condition for am? So in case of am, we know that amplitude of carrier, that means a, is needed to be proportional with the instantaneous value of the xt. That means a proportional to mod of xt or amplitude of the xt. However, that means what will happen? That means if we multiply xt by cos omega ct, if the function is like that xt cos omega ct, then the amplitude will be denoted by xt. That means that in that case carrier amplitude will vary according to the message signal. Okay, however, in case of DSBFC, as the name suggests, full carrier, that means here double sideband full carrier. Here a carrier term is also present or transmitted along with the original AM signal. That means the equation for the DSBFC AM can be written as like xt cos omega ct plus a cos omega ct. You can see that cos omega ct is the separate carrier signal, whereas xt cos omega ct actually denote the modulated wave. Okay, so xt cos omega ct actually the modulated part, because the amplitude of this modulated wave is xt. That means amplitude varies according with the xt or proportional to the xt. But as we use the term full carrier, that means there is, apart from this modulated wave, we are sending or transmitting another carrier part. So ultimately the standard equation for the DSBFC AM can be written as like xt cos omega ct plus a cos omega ct. Okay, so if you take out the common cos omega ct from this equation, so what will happen? So that will become xt plus a into cos omega ct. So DSBFC can be written as et cos omega ct, where et is the envelope of the modulated wave and et is the a plus xt. So here we are writing as like et equal to a plus xt, and it is the envelope of the AM signal. Here you can see that envelope is not constant, it is the function of t. And if we assuming that the maximum amplitude of the carrier signal is constant, that means et proportional to xt, that means envelope is proportional to the xt. So the any kind of change in the xt will reflect in the envelope of the corresponding message signal. So you can conclude that the message or the modulating signal is transmitted via the envelope of the message signal. Okay, so let's see the time domain representation of DSBFC signal. So here you can see that this is the CT, that means A cos omega CT. So from here to here the maximum amplitude is A. Okay, so as we are assuming the continuous wave modulation, so you can see that CT can be expressed as the continuous sinusoidal signal, and this is the XT. It can be arbitrary in nature, but here we are for better understanding or easiness of the drawing, we are assuming that it is also in sinusoidal nature. But it is quite interesting to note that the frequency of the xt is very low compared to the frequency of the ct. Okay, so this is the baseband signal and this is the carrier signal. Obviously the frequency of the carrier will be higher than the message signal. Okay, now what will be the uh, and the equation is a plus xt. This is the envelope. So cos omega ct, there will be high frequency component term, but the amplitude is not constant for the am signal. So in that case the amplitude is a plus xt. So the you can see that this one is the high frequency term of like the ct, but its amplitude, here you can see that maximum amplitude is constant, but here you can see that amplitude is varied according to the xt. You can see that this one is the xt. Okay, and this is called the envelope or et or a plus xt. So envelope is varied in according with the xt. So here message is transmitted via this envelope, you can say that. Okay, and another important conclusion that should be kept in mind, that the maximum amplitude of the envelope that should be greater than xt max, or we can say that et max, that if the amplitude of the message signal is less than xt max, that means this one xt max means from this point to this point. So what will happen if et become less than xt max? What will happen? This is one upper envelope, this is the lower envelope. So if the value of xt gradually decreasing, sorry, if the value of xt is large compared to the et max, then what will happen? These two envelope will touch with each other, and ultimately what will happen? Ultimately the signal will be distorted because the envelope will be different and the message will not be transmitted properly. So this condition should be satisfied. That means the et mod of et greater than equal to mod of xt max. Okay, that means variation in the envelope that should be greater than the variation in the message signal. Else the variation cannot be shown in the modulated wave. Consider if the maximum amplitude of message signal or of envelope is 2 volt, whether maximum amplitude of xt max is 5 volt. So obviously the variation according with the message signal will not reflect in the envelope of the corresponding am wave. Okay, so this is the very important criteria. Okay, however, coming to the next point, it can be noted that a cos omega ct is a carrier term. This is actually not the modulated wave, but this is a carrier term which is separately or which is transmitted along with the modulated wave. Okay, now this carrier is called as the pilot signal. Okay, and you will find that this carrier is very useful during the demodulation in the receiver section. Okay, so in that, when we use demodulation at the receiver end, at that scenario carrier synchronization is very useful. Okay, so for synchronous demodulation we can use the pilot signal, or you can send the pilot signal. Okay, however there is also another process where the pilot signal is not required, but the most conventional approach is to send the pilot signal or carrier signal along with the modulate or actual modulated wave or xt along with the xt cos omega ct. Okay, so for the presence of this pilot carrier, obviously power is wasted, but here what we have gained, the convenience, the better detection capability can be achieved in the receiver section. Okay, so the details of this pilot carrier or carrier synchronization at the demo or at the demodulation, that will be discussed later. Right now at this point just remember a cos omega ct is the separate carrier term that is known as the pilot carrier, and it is used for the carrier synchronization at the receiver end for the demodulation of the modulate of the incoming signal. Okay, and that is the significance of the term full carrier. That means carrier term is present. Okay, and the significance of the terms sideband and double, that will be discussed later. Okay, so this is the basically time domain representation of DSB. That means if we uh, use a CRO to observe the modulated wave, that will be look like this. So this can be observed in CRO, that is the whose amplitude is varying according to the xt. This is the basically the message signal. Okay, and it is obviously symmetric with respect to t axis, symmetric in nature. So if in the semester you need to you have been asked to draw the time domain representation, so initially you need to draw the ct, then you need to draw the xt, then you need to draw the corresponding modulated wave form like this. Now coming to the second part, that is the DSBSC. The full form of the DSBSC is the double sideband suppressed carrier. As the name suggests, suppressed carrier, that means there will be no carrier in the corresponding amplitude modulated wave. So when A is 0, when A is 0, that means the if A becomes 0 here, in that case the equation become xt cos omega ct. Okay, so when A becomes 0, we just get double sideband suppressed carrier. That means if there is no pilot carrier in the message signal, so the equation become DSBSC, and that can be expressed by xt into cos omega ct. As there is no carrier or the carrier is suppressed, that's why we will use the term DSBSC. Okay, and remember, in case of DSBSC, this condition is satisfied. ET max mod of sorry maximum amplitude of ET equal to maximum amplitude of xt. Okay, so let's see the time domain representation of DSBSC. That means how DSBSC signal is look like in CRO. So this is the carrier signal, this is the message signal. Okay, now you can see that the it will at this point when the xt cross the t axis or x axis and its polarity has been changed, in that case the two enveloped will touch with each other. At this point they will touch, at this point they will touch with each other, because there is no because there is no a or a equal to 0. That means obviously the amplitude of et equal to amplitude of xt. Okay, now here it is quite interesting to note that if you observe this crossing point, you can see that the carrier signal is not continuous is in nature at this point. Okay, it is expected that it will be continuous like this, but here you can see that there is a phase of this signal has been changed, because okay, you can see that for this carrier signal it will be like this if the signal is continuous in nature. Similarly here, where the signal passing through the x axis or x equal to 0, so in that case the frequency or the carrier is not continuous. Here phase has been changed. Okay, so this phenomenon is known as the phase reversal. Here 180 phase shift has been observed. So coming to the next part, that is called is the phase reversal. So in case of DSBSC, uh, phase reversal can be observed where xt change its polarity in amplitude. Okay, so if amplitude of the xt greater than 0, then we can write that equation DSB equation of the DSB can be represented as xt into cos omega ct. But when the amplitude of the xt is less than 0, so in that case what will happen, we can write that st dsb sc equal to minus xt cos omega ct, because its amplitude is negative right now. So we can write that the equation of dsbfc st equal to minus xt cos omega ct. Now this can be uh, written as like that, xt into cos omega ct plus pi. Okay, so we can see that in case of cos omega ct plus when this becomes less than 0, there will be extra phase difference of pi or 180. So therefore at this point or at this point the phase become shifted by 180-degree, and this is known as the phase reversal, which is very important. Okay, and during the drawing of this time domain representation of dsbsc, please draw properly. You need to show the phase reversal obviously, otherwise the total representation is not correct. Now coming to the frequency domain representation of dsb fcam signal. So far the signal, this is the modulated wave for the dsbsc, and this is the modulated wave for dsbfc. All these are this can be shown in cro, and basically in case of cro, along x axis we plot the time. Okay, so that's why I call it as the time domain representation. Now to observe the defined frequency component, or to calculate the bandwidth of the modulated wave, we need to identify, or you need to find out a equation in frequency domain. Okay, now to find out the frequency domain representation equation, what we need to do, we need to do Fourier transform. Okay, so that's why basically in last class we have discussed, or we have revised the concept of Fourier transform, so that we can use it in this modulation, analysis of modulation. Okay, uh, now remember, or let's revise that the Fourier transform of the cos omega ct can be written as like pi delta omega minus omega c plus delta omega plus omega c. Okay, so what is delta? Delta means impulse function, so that means the Fourier transform of cos omega ct is nothing but two impulse located as plus omega c and minus omega c with amplitude of pi. That is the Fourier transform of cos omega ct. It is already discussed in the earlier classes. Okay, so now in case of dsbfc we are using a cos omega ct. So the Fourier transform of a cos omega ct can be written as pi a into delta omega minus omega c plus delta omega plus omega c. Okay, now let us assuming, okay, yeah, so this is the basically the corresponding frequency domain representation of carrier signal. You can see that, sorry, this is the carrier signal in the time domain, which is continuous in nature. Along x axis we plot t and its maximum amplitude is a. So if we make that Fourier transform and plot them with respect to omega, so the amplitude of the Fourier transform of ct can be written as like two impulse located at omega c and minus omega c, two impulse located at omega c and minus omega c, and whose amplitude is pi a pi a. So that is, you can write, you can observe it like, so pi a delta omega minus omega c delta omega plus omega c. Okay, so this is basically frequency shifting property. Sorry. So again, okay, now let's assume xt, Fourier transform of xt is x omega. So This is basically, consider this is the arbitrary xt. Okay, and the its Fourier transform is like this. We are not telling that the this is the sinusoidal, but we are assuming that the this for the arbitrary shaped xt, the corresponding spectrum or corresponding Fourier transform will look like this. So this is basically x omega. You can observe that the spectrum is extend from 0 to omega m. So its bandwidth is omega m. Okay, so this is the basically low pass signal. Okay, why do we call it low pass signal? Because its frequency is low and it's extend from 0 to omega m, so its bandwidth is omega m. Clear? So this is the basically the frequency domain representation of x omega or Fourier transform of xt. So or we simply you can call it as the spectrum of x omega, spectrum of c omega. Fine. So we are assuming that the Fourier transform of xt is x omega. Now we know that the Fourier transform of e to the power j omega ct into xt can be given by x omega minus omega c. That means a shifted version of x omega at omega c point. This can be obtained by using the frequency shifting property of Fourier transform. So if you are using the frequency shifting property, this can be easily shown that the Fourier transform of ej omega ct into xt is nothing but x omega minus omega c. So now what is the x omega minus omega c? That means the this at x omega will be shifted at omega c point. Similarly, the Fourier transform of e to the power minus j omega ct into xt is nothing but x omega plus omega c. That means x omega will be shifted at minus omega c. Okay. Now, by using the Euler identity, we can write that xt cos omega ct equal to xt e to the power j omega ct plus e to the power minus j omega ct by 2. As we know that cos theta equal to cos j theta plus cos minus j theta divided by 2. Similarly, in spite of using theta, we are using omega ct, and we can write like this way. So what do we can write that xt cos omega ct is half xt to the power j omega ct plus half xt to the power minus j omega ct. Okay. So the Fourier transform of xt cos omega ct can be written as like half x omega minus omega c, because the Fourier transform of xt e to the power j omega ct is x omega minus omega c. So we have written like x omega minus omega c plus the Fourier transform of xt to the power minus j omega c, that is x omega plus omega c. So we are writing x omega plus omega c. So, sorry, this will be not the equal sign. This will be the Fourier transform of xt cos omega ct. Okay. So clear? So Fourier transform of xt cos omega ct is half x omega minus omega c plus x omega plus omega c. Okay. So as you know that in case of DSB-FC, the equation can be written as like xt cos omega ct plus a cos omega ct. So if you want to find out the corresponding spectrum of the modulated wave, that means if you want to plot the s omega with respect to omega, that means we have to find out the corresponding Fourier transform of this equation. Now corresponding Fourier transform of this equation can be written as like this one for xt cos omega ct. So half x omega minus omega c plus x omega plus omega c plus Fourier transform of a cos omega ct. So what is the Fourier transform of a cos omega ct? That is the pi a delta omega minus omega c plus delta omega plus omega c. So that is the frequency domain representation of DSB-FC. Now if you want to observe the corresponding spectrum of s omega, how it will look like. So it will be look like this. Okay. So let's explain this spectrum. Let's explain this spectrum. So first term, like half, that means the amplitude. Okay. So first term x omega minus omega c, what is this? That means x omega will be shifted at omega c point. Okay, let's see. So this is basically the x omega and it will be shifted at omega c. Okay, and this will be shifted up like this. And as the spectrum of x omega is from 0 to omega m, so obviously this point will be omega c plus omega m and this point will be omega c minus omega m, because it will be, because the bandwidth of the xt is bandwidth of the message signal is the omega m. So this point will be omega c. If this location is omega c, so obviously this is omega c plus omega m, and this will be omega c minus omega m. Okay, let's find out the second term. So second part is like x omega plus omega c. So what is this x omega plus omega c? That means x omega is shifted at minus omega c. So x omega is shifted at minus omega c. So with respect to this point, x omega is shifted. Okay. Again, this point will be omega c minus omega m, and this point will be minus omega c plus omega m, because the bandwidth of the xt is omega m. That means it is its spectrum has been from minus omega m to omega m. So this is will be minus omega c plus omega m, minus omega c minus omega m, minus omega c plus omega m. And the this part denote the amplitude. So obviously the amplitude of this spectrum will be half, where the amplitude of this xt is assumed to be 1. Okay, if you are assuming the amplitude of the xt, so yeah, the peak amplitude of the x omega is 1, so in that case this will become half. Now the second part, there is another term apart from this spectrum. There is carrier part, and for the carrier part there is two impulse located at omega c and minus omega c, and its amplitude will be pi a. So you can see that at omega c there is an impulse, and at minus omega c there is also an impulse whose amplitude is pi a. So all these denote the corresponding frequency spectrum of modulated wave. Okay, so it is quite clear now. So there is four part. This one basically denote x omega minus omega c. This denote x omega plus omega c. This denotes delta omega minus omega c. This denote delta omega plus omega c. And the amplitude of the impulse is pi a, and the amplitude of the spectrum, shifted spectrum, become half. Okay, and you can see that the corresponding sorry yeah corresponding frequency point. Now if we consider omega c as the referral point, with respect to omega c, the corresponding spectrum has two part. One is the higher frequency part, and another is lower frequency part. So this part is basically higher frequency part. So that exists from omega c to omega c plus omega m, and from omega c to minus omega m the frequency is lower. Okay, so or the frequency, or you can also use the term as band, frequency band. Okay, as we are using the high frequency part here, we are using the term, or we defined a new term is upper sideband. Okay, now upper sideband is lying from omega c plus omega m up to omega c, and lower sideband is from omega c minus omega m up to omega c. Okay, so this is the USB or upper sideband, this is the LSB or lower sideband. Clear now. You need to clear that point. So upper sideband omega c to omega c plus omega m, and lower sideband omega c minus omega m to omega c. Okay, so you can see that here, as this is the low pass signal, so the bandwidth or amplitude is from 0 to omega m. Why do we don't consider the negative part? Because negative has no significance. It is just used for the mathematical analysis, because we are using the polar form, where negative frequency are used for only mathematical analysis. Okay, so maximum power or all power is remained in between this spectrum from 0 to omega m. So that's why I call it that bandwidth of this low pass signal is, or message signal, is omega m. But here you can see that the total spectrum, as it is shifted towards omega c, so total power is remained in between these two frequency part, omega c plus omega m, omega c minus omega m. That means, so if we want to calculate the bandwidth, so we want to use uh, we want to find out the corresponding frequency range between USB frequency and LSB frequency. So from USB is omega c plus omega m minus omega c minus omega m, that means 2 omega m. So obviously this area, that means this total area is 2 omega m. Okay, so you can see that for modulated wave the bandwidth requirement has been doubled if we compare to the modulating wave. In case of modulating wave the bandwidth requirement is omega m, but in case of double sideband FC, the bandwidth requirement is 2 omega m or become doubled. Now, why do we call this double sideband? Sideband means, that means frequency component, and because here as there is higher frequency component also and lower frequency component also, that means there are two sideband, upper sideband and lower sideband. That's why we'll call it as the double sideband. Okay, remember that either USB and LSB both contain the same information. Okay, because you can see that the spectrum of the xt or x omega is symmetric with respect to 0, omega equal to 0. That means this is also this information, all the information is lies in between this region or in this region. Okay, so you can see that uh, what we are telling, all yeah, all information will remain in between this spectrum. Okay, so as there are two sideband, upper and lower, or high frequency or lower frequency, that's why we use the term double sideband. So now you can understand the significance of the term double sideband. Okay, because these two sidebands are symmetrically to each other, and it is worth to mention that omega c plus greater than omega m, this condition should be followed. Okay, if omega c less than omega m, that means two sideband will be overlap with each other. Okay, so it is quite obvious that frequency of the carrier should be greater than frequency of the message signal. Okay, here it is also mentioned that the bandwidth requirement for the DSBFC is twice of the bandwidth requirement of the modulating signal, and that is one of the disadvantages of the AM DSBFC. Okay, and we already mentioned that there is no physical significance of negative frequency, just it has been used for mathematical convention. For negative part, it is the mirror of the positive part we are using for the mathematical analysis also only. Now again, frequency domain representation of the DSBSC. So we are uh, already know that in case of DSB there is no carrier term. So obviously, uh, if we consider the frequency spectrum of DSB FC, so if we remove the carrier component, that means impulse. If we remove the impulse from this spectrum, that will become the frequency domain representation of DSBSC. So this is basically the corresponding representation of the DSBSCs, where you can see that there is no frequency, no carrier component which located at omega c or minus omega c. That means here carrier is suppressed. Okay, so and here it is same. The bandwidth requirement is 2 omega m as the DSB FC, but the difference only is there is no frequency component, or there is no frequency impulse at the omega c or minus omega c. So that is the frequency domain, or that is the spectrum of S omega. Okay, clear? I think everything is quite clear now. So now question arises, why do we need to analyze this, why need to observe this frequency domain analysis or spectrum of this DSBFC or DSBSC? So by observing the spectrum of the corresponding modulated wave, we can easily find out what are the different frequency component that has been that is remained in the corresponding equation or corresponding signal, and what are the bandwidth requirement. You can easily calculate the corresponding bandwidth requirement for any signal by observing the spectrum of it. Okay, now as you already told that to observe the time domain representation we are using the CRO. So how can we observe the frequency domain representation or spectrum of any signal? Now to observe the spectrum of any signal, we need to use the spectrum analyzer. Okay, so if the college was open, I in laboratory we can show the corresponding spectrum analyzer. So just at this point, just remember that to observe the frequency domain analyze representation or the spectrum of any kind of signal, spectrum analyzer is used by, if we use instrument spectrum analyzer, where amplitude of the Fourier transform of the corresponding signal is plot against the omega, that will look like, simply look like this. Okay, for the spectrum of the DSBFC will look like this in the spectrum analyzer, and for that, from that we can easily calculate the bandwidth. Okay, however, uh, hope everything is clear. DSBFC and DSBFC, the difference is, or again I'm repeating, double sideband. Why do we use the term double sideband? Because there is higher frequency component and lower frequency component with respect to omega c. Now, a frequency component means side band or frequency spectrum. So higher frequency spectrum is upper sideband and lower frequency spectrum is lower sideband. And as there is two term, upper sideband, lower sideband, and though and they are symmetric with each other, that's why we call the term as double sideband. And remember, each of the sideband contain the whole information as the original message signal. Okay, so this is quite different from the time domain representation. Okay, so that is the double sideband. And full carrier, if the carrier term is present in along with the modulated signal, that means original modulated signal is the xt cos omega ct. Apart from the original modulated signal, if there is another term a cos omega ct, that will be DSBFC. And if there is no carrier term, that will be the DSBSC or suppressed carrier. So full carrier, suppressed carrier. If carrier is present, full carrier. If there is no carrier, that is called the suppressed carrier. Clear? Now we are using we will define the modulation index. It is very important term associated with the modulation, that denote the percentage of modulation based on the amplitude of the message signal and the carrier signal. We define the modulation index like this way. Basically, this is the ratio of maximum amplitude of the message signal with the maximum amplitude of the carrier. So we define modulation index by mu, and mu can be written as like this: xt max by a, ratio of maximum amplitude of the message signal with the maximum amplitude of the carrier signal. Now the maximum amplitude of the carrier signal is a and maximum amplitude of the message signal is xt max, and this ratio is known as the modulation index, and that denote the percentage of modulation. Both are basically same. Now based on this modulation index, three types of AM or amplitude modulation conventionally, DSBFC or DSBFC is used as the conventional AM representation. If we are using the term only AM, that means that is denote DSBFC. Okay. So based on the value of the modulation index, AM can be classified in three types, or you can say it that DSBFC. Okay. So AM can be classified into three types. One is the under modulation, second is the critical modulation, and third one is the over modulation. Okay, so let's see how they will look like. We already know in case of DSBSC, the time domain representation is look like this. That means time domain representation means along x-axis we plot t, and along y-axis we plot the amplitude of st. So this is the most conventional scenario of modulation, and this condition is basically the under modulation scenario. Why? Because here the value of modulation index is less than 1. And when this value will be less than 1? Because when a greater than xt max, that means the amplitude of the carrier greater than xt max. That is the most conventional case we already mentioned in the DSBFC analysis. In that case, that means the if a greater than xt max, so message will be transmitted efficiently, and those two envelope will not touch with each other, and message will be message will be transmitted efficiently, because as the message is embedded in the envelope of the modulated wave, and you can see that these two envelope will not touch with each other, or the envelope is not distorted yet. That means data or message has been transmitted efficiently or properly. So this is the under modulation, and there is no, we can say that there is no loss of information. Critical modulation, when mu equal to 1, that means when a equal to xt max. So you can see that if the maximum amplitude of the message is same as the maximum amplitude of the carrier, then what will happen? So at certain point they will touch with each other, because at maximum amplitude will be xt max minus, sorry, a minus xt. That means a, if they are same, that means at certain point the amplitude of the carrier will be 0. So you can see that here there will, the amplitude is carrier, they will touch with each other, and at that point the carrier amplitude is 0. So this is basically the critical modulation. You can see that though this is the critical modulation, but there is no phase reversal in this point, and the message is not lost yet. That means the envelope is envelope are touched with each other, but they are not distorted yet. They are not overlap with each other. Okay. So until unless they are overlap with each other, that means the information has been transmitted properly, or there is no loss in information. So you can see that for critical modulation, the amplitude of the carrier is same as the maximum amplitude of the message signal, and the value of the critical modulation index in the critical modulation is 1. This is very important for your MCQ question, remember. And last type of modulation, that is the over modulation. So over modulation is not desirable modulation case where the amplitude of the carrier is less than the maximum amplitude of the modulating signal. That is, if a less than xt max, that means mu greater than 1. When mu greater than 1, that is called the over modulation. So in that case, what will happen? The two envelope will be overlap with each other, and they will cross the x axis or t axis, and as they will cross with each other at this point, the envelope will look like this. That means the message has been distorted, and that means the information will be lost. So this is not expected case. You can say that message is not transmitted effectively and there is loss of information. Okay. So we should consider for proper modulation under modulation and critical modulation. Okay. So for the effective transmission, the range of modulation index will be from 0. If mu equal to 0, that denote there is no modulation, so that is not possible. So the value of mu is greater than 0 but less than equal to 1. That means critical modulation is allowed, but no modulation is not allowed, and under modulation is also allowed. So value of mu will remain in between 1 and 0, but value of mu if greater than 1, that is not expected, and at that scenario information will be lost. So if a less than xt max, in that case what will happen? Obviously the variation of xt will not reflect in the a. That means they will be lost in information. And as as value of xt cross the change its polarity, so at this point there will be phase reversal. So remember, the phase reversal will be observed in two cases. One is dsb-sc, another is the dsb-fc over modulation. Okay, just remember phase reversal, one dsb-sc, another over modulation. So in that two case phase reversal will be observed. Okay, again I'm telling you, based on the modulation index, we can classify the modulation in three types: under, critical, over. When mu less than 1, that is called the under, and two envelope will not touch each other, and that there will be no lost in information, and the condition is a greater than xt max, and it will look like this. In case of critical modulation, value of mu is 1. In that case, a equal to xt max. Okay, so in that scenario, the two envelope will just touch with each other. That means when they will touch with each other, the value of the amplitude of the carrier is 0. Okay, but in case of critical modulation, there is no loss in information. But if the value of mu is greater than 1, that means when the value of a less than xt max, or amplitude of xt max is greater than a, so in that case what will happen, two envelope will overlap with each other and phase reversal will be observed, and the message message or information will be lost as the envelope is distorted due to this overlap. Okay, so this is the called over modulation, and over modulation is obviously not expected scenario. So the range of modulation index is from 0 to up to 1. Now coming to the conclusion part, so in this class we have studied the needs and different type of modulation, and we are mainly focus in this class is the aim. We have observed the time and frequency domain representation of DSB FC and DSB SC signal, where we observed the presence of pilot carrier and absence of pilot carrier. Next we have observed the frequency domain analysis, where we can see that the bandwidth requirement it become doubled in case of DSB and DSB. And after that, we have studied the modulation index based on the ratio of the amplitude of the carrier and the message signal. We can classify the modulation into three types: over, under, and critical. Under and critical are the expected scenario, but the over modulation is the not desirable condition. So the maximum amplitude of the modulation index is 1. Okay, so these are the references. Hope you have understand all the thing I want to I have studied so far, and if you have any problem please post them or ask them. Thank you.